The Great Emu War of 1932 stands as one of the most unusual episodes in Australian history, blending agricultural hardship, wildlife management, and unintended comedy. It unfolded in the rural areas of Western Australia, particularly around the Campion district, during the Great Depression. At the time, many Australian farmers were struggling to cultivate wheat in an already challenging environment. Adding to their woes, emus, large, flightless birds native to Australia, began migrating from inland regions to the farmlands in search of food and water. Their arrival coincided with the breeding season, leading to tens of thousands of emus devastating crops and fences, further exacerbating the economic plight of farmers. The farmers, many of whom were war veterans resettled on government land, appealed to the authorities for assistance. In response, the Australian government, under Minister of Defence Sir George Pearce, decided to deploy military intervention. This decision was controversial but reflected the desperation of the times. 2 soldiers, Major G.P.W. Meredith and his team, were armed with Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition to deal with the emu menace. The operation was intended to provide swift and effective control of the birds, whose numbers had overwhelmed conventional methods of pest management. The campaign began in November 1932, but the emus proved to be far more elusive and resilient than anticipated. In their initial encounters, the soldiers found that the emus moved in small, scattered groups rather than the large, concentrated flocks they had expected. This behavior made it difficult to inflict significant casualties. The first attempt to ambush a group of 50 birds ended in failure when the emus quickly scattered. Although some birds were killed, the overall impact was negligible. In subsequent efforts, the soldiers attempted to use different tactics, including mounting the machine guns on a truck to chase the birds. However, this strategy also failed due to the rough terrain, which made aiming difficult, and the speed of the emus, which outpaced the vehicle. Over the course of the campaign, despite firing thousands of rounds, only a small percentage of the emus were killed. Estimates suggest that fewer than 1,000 emus were successfully culled, far below the expectations set at the campaign's outset. The emu's ability to evade the soldiers, coupled with their surprising resilience, some birds continued to run despite being wounded, led to widespread mockery of the operation. Newspapers of the time ridiculed the effort, portraying it as a farcical war in which the emus had decisively outmaneuvered their human adversaries. Major Meredith himself later remarked on the birds' remarkable capabilities, comparing their mobility and evasion tactics to those of a military unit. The campaign was eventually called off in December 1932, having achieved limited success and at a significant cost to the government. Farmers continued to struggle with emu invasions in the years that followed, ultimately resorting to other methods such as fencing and bounties to manage the population. The Great Emu War remains a fascinating anecdote in Australian history, highlighting the challenges of wildlife management and the unintended consequences of militarizing a response to environmental problems. Today, it serves as both a cautionary tale and a source of humor, emblematic of the complex relationship between humans and nature. Thank you for watching. We have some amazing videos coming up, so stay tuned and make sure to hit the subscribe button.